Hello, this is the Week Trend, and welcome to Seattle, everybody. Here we are going to talk about a movie that came out in the year 2000 following one of the greatest box office setups of all time. 1999, Hollywood changed forever, some say. When the movie The Blair Witch Project came out, this shoestring budgeted horror movie was able to pull in about $150 million on a budget that was so low, it was incredible. This movie made more for artisan films than any of the other movies had made ever combined. So why don't we put in 3 times the money and 1% of the effort into a sequel, they said. It'll be great. And so it came. The Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Which begs the question, what is the Book of Shadows? Tell me! Oh God, this is gonna be awful. So this movie begins by basking in the glory of its predecessor, the Blair Witch Project, by, telling them, hey, a good old movie came out last year, why don't you see a crappy sequel about it? And this brings up the only thing that I actually think works in this movie, even though it is very fastly forgotten. And it is the fact that this is a movie about the cult phenomenon that was the Blair Witch Project, because people actually believed that this was real when the movie was released, due to very clever marketing and the fact that social media hadn't been invented yet. So this is a movie about movie fans of the original movie that was going to Burkittsville and make a documentary about the phenomenon that was the Blair Witch Project, that was basically dead in 2000, but who cares about that little detail. So we basically have 5 people in a van that is gonna solve mysteries. Nah, too dumb. And they don't even have a dog. Then they have a nice old weed and beer party, and after that everything seems to go all sorts of sideways. And talking about the plot, the other side of that spectrum will be troublesome. Because then I will have to explain this, and then I will have to explain that, and then I will have to explain this, and then I will have to explain that. And I would just have to get into all these very strange and cafangled storyline that was going on to this one, so we would be here till next morning, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to lose my mind. So we're just gonna have to talk about why this movie is one of the worst movies of all time, one of the worst sequels of all time, one of the worst horror movies of all time, one of the worst movies of all time. Oh dear. Problem number 1, characters. So this movie mostly consists out of our 5 main characters. We're gonna go through them a little bit, from the best to the worst. But when I say the best, that would imply that the character we're gonna talk about first is a good character. She's not. She's, just this character who is some sort of, girlfriend, whatever, to the characters that will come up later. She's bland, she has no personality, and she has some overacting to herself, but she's bland, she doesn't, she's bland and uninteresting, so we'll move over fastly to our male characters, who is sort of some sort of movie makers, documentaries, who overacts and are crazy and are awful and are just has this weird way of delivering lines, I swear to Christ, and all that good stuff. They are so... they're awful. Now, they are of course bad. I mean, they're really uninteresting as the characters, and they have these super weird delivery, and they are bad. But then we go into the really horrible stuff, because then we have a super goth chick who even makes, you know, the parody of the goth from South Park actually look a bit, you know, sane in comparison. Oh God, she's just so pretentious, she's attention seeking, she has the worst line, and it's laughable to see. You're actually thinking to yourself, am I supposed to be taking this seriously? You don't honestly think I'm gonna take this seriously, don't you? But then we have the creme de la creme, the bucket of cold piss of movie characters, Erica. Yes, Erica. Now, think about that really annoying chick from Saved by the Well. No, not that one. No, not that one. Ah, yes, that's the one. Think about her, but even more pretentious, even more goody-two-shoes in some way, and also add the fact that she is a witch. And I'm talking about some sort of a modern witch. And it is unbearable to watch. Her over-the-top delivery and all her zaniness almost makes this into a full-on comedy. Also, the goth chick has psychic powers. I almost forgot about that one. And then we have problem number 2. Problem number 2 is the thing that really sinks this movie to the bottom of the piss. This is the problem that gives this movie the kiss of death. The story. Because crappy characters in a horror movie, I have seen far better movies than this one being able to handle some soddy characters. If a movie has at least an interesting story and they have a good atmosphere or something like that, you can have shitty characters and you can make the movie work anyway. But this one absolutely tanks in every way because of how incredibly stupid, dumb, lame and idiotic the story is. To start off, I have no idea what the story is for this one. It just throws so much into this one with the weird flashbacks, the even weirder jump scares that makes no sense. Also, it's worth mentioning that this movie is one of the worst edited movies I have ever seen in my entire life. It is actually even worse than the original one, and that one sort of had a home movie feel to itself, so it has excuses for being badly edited. It's okay, it's the style, I get it. This one has maybe the worst editing I have ever seen in my entire life. Has anybody even seen how you edited a movie before? This one? It's dreadful. But you're thinking to yourself, man, you're really throwing a lot of stuff into this movie. You're really throwing a lot of things into this. This is probably, building towards something incredible. Built to an incredible, twist. Maybe the witch of today, the modern witch, maybe Erica has a connection to the old witch of Burkittsville from the first movie. That thing could actually have been a cool thing to do. Nope, we're not going to do that. What are you going to do? We're going to leave you with a kerfungled mess that is going to make you question even more about the plot. And because the movie has so many plot lines that goes nowhere, so many flashbacks that go unanswered, so many dreadful moments that makes no sense, then all of a sudden the movie decides that screw it, just end this movie already so we can go home and have cocaine. So we're left with one of the most unexpectedly cut short end sequences of all time, which leaves me with just one more question. What was the Book of Shadows? My memory might be a little groggy on this one, but I am almost 100% certain that apart from Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 is only mentioned in the title of the movie and on the poster. Otherwise, the word Book of Shadows is never uttered in the entire movie, and we will never see a book called the Book of Shadows anywhere. And when I watched this movie for the first time, I had to think, what is the Book of Shadows? Maybe the Book of Shadows will explain the entirety of the story about the witch. Maybe we will see, you know, stuff being revealed through the Book of Shadows, but then you sort of decided, nah, sorry, we're not gonna be in the Book of Shadows. Then why did you have to call it the Book of Shadows, you idiots? Ooh. This is one of the worst movies I've seen in my entire life. The plot makes no sense. The acting is at such a low point that a dead cat in a plastic bag is not enough to describe how awful this movie is. The movie is dumb, the movie is dull, the movie is awful, the movie has the worst characters of all time, it has bad jump scares, it has scenes that are so laughably awful that you almost start laughing at it because it is so bad. This is a movie you should avoid at all costs. This movie can only get the rating of 1. It is not as bad as it can get to a 0, because you're gonna have to work really hard to get a 0 rating on this show, but it came really close to it. What else can I say? Don't see this movie. The weather has been a little bit up and down to this day, so but tonight, no, that was really nice. So we'll see where we go the next time. This is the Vikstrand signing out.